Without further ado, I'd like to welcome you all to our Sunday seminar for June 2021. We are very, very happy to have the Adler Aphasia Center with us. And leading this talk will be Robin Straus, who is the Education and Training Coordinator. And we're also joined by Cherie David, who's a member at the center. So we're very excited to hear from you. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I thank you for taking your time away from this very sunny, beautiful day to be on the computer. And we kind of have a mixed audience here today. Some people who are very familiar with aphasia, and I'm guessing some people who don't know maybe what it is at all. So I'm going to proceed as if you don't know what aphasia is and you don't know about the Adler Aphasia Center. And we will take it from there. So I will start with my PowerPoint. As Michelle said, I'm Robin Straus, Education and Training Coordinator at the center. I've been at the center almost 14 years. The first 3.5 were as a volunteer. And then I started taking on some groups, and I'm just looking for my PowerPoint, and leading an advocacy group where we speak to, I'm sorry. Okay, everybody can see my PowerPoint now, right? Okay.
Yes.
So here we go. I will tell you a little bit about what aphasia is, what causes aphasia. I'm going to show you some video clips of different types of aphasia. We're going to meet Cherie, and then we're going to talk about the Adler Aphasia Center. And I will welcome any questions that anyone has along the way or at the end. Either is fine. Okay. So aphasia is a disorder of language that happens when the area in the brain that controls language gets damaged. For most people, that's the left side of the brain. Not everyone, but for most people, the left side of the brain is the area that controls language and communication. A person who has aphasia may have trouble getting out the words they want to say. That doesn't necessarily mean a motoric problem, but rather retrieving which specific word they want to say. They might have trouble understanding spoken language, reading, and or writing. So it could be a combination of those things, all of those things, one of those things. But what is true for everyone who has aphasia is that their intellect is not affected. So in other words, the person is as smart as they were before they got aphasia. They have all the knowledge in their head that they had before they got aphasia, but they don't have a systematic way to get it out. So we think of the brain as kind of a file cabinet that has all the information we need to function filed away neatly. One day, for whatever reason, that file cabinet gets knocked over. All the files spill out on the floor. We're in a hurry, so we pick them up and we put them back in the file cabinet and we close the door. So now when we need to get a phone number, or we need to get a recipe, or we need to pull someone's name or someone's birthday, there's no systematic way to get that information because the information's there, but it's all jumbled up in our head. So the most common feature of aphasia is difficulty with word retrieval. Ask most people with aphasia and they'll say, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know what I want to say in here, but the word doesn't come out. Or maybe a related word will come out. Like maybe I want to say, this is my daughter, and instead I say, this is my mother, or this is my sister. Or I want to say I had my stroke 3 years ago, and I say I had my stroke 3 weeks ago. As I said before, aphasia by itself does not affect a person's intellect, nor does it affect their memory, judgment, or personality. So people sometimes confuse aphasia with dementia. It is not the same thing. The challenge is more how the person with aphasia understands the information being said to him, but it's not a memory problem. Now, that having been said, There's a less common form of aphasia than the type that we're talking about today, and that's called primary progressive aphasia. And that type of aphasia comes on gradually. We haven't yet talked about how this type of aphasia is caused, but primary progressive aphasia will come on gradually in the language areas of the brain, usually when the person's in their 60s or so, give or take. And at first, the person will just maybe get their grammar mixed up, maybe not use the right word. Those will be the only symptoms. Gradually, over time, the symptoms will get worse and worse and worse, and it will turn into a dementia. Again, that's primary progressive aphasia, not the type of aphasia we're talking about today, and much, much less common than the type of aphasia we are talking about today. So what's the most common cause of aphasia? Anybody have a guess?
Stroke.
A stroke. A stroke is the most common cause of aphasia. It's estimated between 1/4 and 1/3 of people who have a stroke will get aphasia. Now, for some people, the brain will spontaneously correct itself. So that means the person might have aphasia for a few minutes, for a few hours, for a day or so, and then it will correct itself. But what we're talking about is an aphasia that stays with the person and will stay with the person for the rest of their life. Other causes of aphasia are anything that will damage that area of the brain. So a head injury, a fall, a car accident, a gunshot wound. If you're familiar with former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, who several years ago was shot in the head, she's an example of someone unfortunately now living with aphasia. She's certainly as intelligent as she was before. She knows everything she wants to say, but it's a tremendous challenge for her to get the words out. And if you've seen her, I believe she spoke at the Democratic Convention. She's been on TV on other programs. What she says has to be very, very rehearsed and practiced before she can get the words out. Other causes of aphasia, a brain tumor, brain disease. So in other words, where primary progressive aphasia comes on very gradually, there's really no known cause. This type of aphasia comes on very, very acutely and because of one of these causes. So it's estimated there's about 2.5 million people in America who have aphasia. In New Jersey alone, they estimate about 70,000 people have aphasia. Aphasia is actually more common than Parkinson's disease, cerebral palsy, and muscular dystrophy. But what's interesting is most people have never heard of aphasia. They know what these other disorders look like, but they really are not sure what aphasia is. Each person who has aphasia is different. And we're going to hear from Cherie in a little while, who is a person with aphasia. There's different levels, mild, moderate, severe. You can label it Broca's, you can label it Wernicke's. I'm going to show you a few examples because I just want you to see that there's a huge, huge range. There could be a person who speaks so well that you might not even notice that there's a problem, to a person who has no spoken language at all, or one word or one syllable. So let me show you some of those examples. We'll start with Steve. So Steve has Wernicke's aphasia. So what that means is when Steve speaks, if you don't listen carefully to what he's saying, it sounds like he has a lot of good language. The words flow, the sentences flow, but if you listen carefully to what he's saying, a lot of what he's saying makes no sense. But chances are that Steve is thinking that what he's saying is making sense. So let me play the video for you and it will become clearer to you.
I travel. We go in Cal for call, Evermans. We do 4 trips about Swiss. Every I travel and we get to see things, but it's not as hard without the we going to Buffalo, down car and travel and versus, and we drive well down. So it's fun. I have a call, and I go camp when the car fails with the call all. So we get call Abby all you co-miss.
Okay, I'm stopping the share for a minute. So pretty difficult to understand what Steve was saying. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. He was talking about, he likes to go on camping trips. He likes to drive. He went with his wife, but you really couldn't understand. But it's not to say that Steve can't understand what is going on. The challenge for all of us when we're dealing with a person with aphasia is how do we get the information across to them so they can understand what we're saying. Let me show you a couple of other videos, and then I'm going to turn it over to Cherie. And then after we hear Cherie's story, we'll talk briefly about the Adler Aphasia Center. So let's see if we can do this. Okay.
Well, I began for almost 30 years, right? And
Can everybody see and hear Tony?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I say about 7 years, I went to school, and I can say it, but the hat and the goes when the school is done, and I looked what happened. So I did it. So that was good. And my father was sick, almost bad. It was bad. And he's sick a long time in the hospital. And I can really feel that he waiting with me to see that I did it. And then he died, almost 2 days after. So I think he waited me. So it's good and bad together, I think, but it was good that he seen me.
Okay.
Wait a minute, Jeannie. I'm not ready for you yet. Okay. So Tony had more of a mild aphasia. I think you were able to follow his story, even though it was a little bit choppy. He did something really interesting. What's the word that he couldn't say?
Graduation.
Graduation. So what he did was something called circumlocution, where he described the word. He went around the word. He described the word without saying it exactly, right? He said the tassel, and when you walk, the end of school. So some people with aphasia get very adept at doing that. If they can't get the exact word out, they can describe the word, and so you're able to understand. So I'm going to show you one more video, and that's the other extreme. That's Jeannie, who really doesn't have any intelligible language at all. So let me just pull up her video again and share my screen. Okay.
Okay, by the read of so gay, no gay, ain't that so crazy? Oh, after you, Apple will talk with me. Okay, I just suffer.
Okay, so that was Jeannie. And I just want to tell you a brief story to emphasize again and remind you that the person's intellect is still intact. There still is a person in there. At the Adler Aphasia Center, when times were normal before COVID, we would do a musical production at the end of every summer. And one year we were rehearsing, and Jeannie was involved in the play. And one of the leads was trying to get his line out, and it was taking him a while to say anything. And all of a sudden, somebody spoke his line perfectly, word for word. And that was Jeannie, who you just saw on that video clip. So she had been sitting in rehearsals. She had been hearing him give his line. And for whatever reason, at that moment, she was spontaneously able to say his line. So I just like to tell that story to emphasize that the way the person sounds does not necessarily reflect how intelligent they are. And on that note, and with that example, I will turn it over to Cherie.
Hello. How you doing?
Good.
Good.
I have a PowerPoint. Wait a minute.
Sorry. Oh,
Okay.
Right, you got it, Cherie.
Okay. My name is Cherie David. I am 47-year old. I have a son. I had a stroke February 19, 2019. I am a nurse. I work in labor and delivery, recovery room, and ICU, surgical, and medical. I didn't show no signs of symptoms, but suddenly after I had received my patient, I fell down on the floor and noticed I couldn't speak. I was so confused what's going on. I was in the OR within an hour. I covered in ICU. People were watching me because I work at ICU and recovery room, so they don't know what happened to me. I saw my family. I said, is something really wrong? I was coherent 2 days after my stroke. Listening to my family and nurses, doctor, and techs. I thought I had a TIA. I don't remember. They said the knee stroke, or I couldn't talk, so aphasia was not known to me. I kept looking for my arm because I can't feel my arm. I learned that I had a stroke 3 weeks later. The speech therapist told me I had aphasia 3 weeks later. What you can do to do better? Oh my. Wait a minute. Yes. Okay. You can be, wait a minute, that's not the one, the other one. Okay. You can be active after a stroke. Live your life to the fullest. I done so much stuff after my stroke I didn't have time to do before, such as boxing, skating, bowling with my left hand is really hard. I water ski in June. I did scooters and lost 8 pounds because I go to the gym 4 times a week. I play paintball using my left hand, and I have done crafts and art and craft on t-shirt for my son. I love Adler Aphasia Center because it helped me to communicate with confidence. Speech is very important to me in my line of profession, which is nursing.
Mhm.
My son's business, diamond art. Oh, that's what it is. Diamond art to complete. I do it with my right hand for therapy. I will be going back to school. To finish my nursing degree and my master's in nursing. I had 2 semesters left. That's it. I do so much because I not give it up. I will beat the stroke. I'm stronger than a stroke.
Very good.
Fantastic, Cherie.
Thank you. Okay, wait a minute.
You're welcome.
That was great. Thank you so much.
You're
So
welcome.
Just amazing, just amazing. So I'm just going to briefly finish up with this PowerPoint. I have about a 5-minute video on the Adler Aphasia Center. Would you all like to see that?
Sure.
Okay, so let me just,
I go,
okay. So I'm not sharing, right? Or am I sharing? No, I'm not sharing. Okay. You'd think after 15 months, I'd have the hang of this better, right? Okay. Okay, everybody can see that now, recovery, prognosis. So I mentioned at the beginning that aphasia is a chronic condition, but people can get better. It depends really on a lot of factors. I listening to Cherie's story, I can't help but think how lucky she was that she was in the hospital already when she had her stroke. And so she was able to get care almost immediately. Many factors are involved with how much better you get, how severe the damage is, how healthy the person is at the time of the stroke or event, what their motivation is, what kind of supports they have from family and friends, etc. But recovery really can continue over the rest of the person's lifetime. And that's what the Adler Aphasia Center is about. I'm going to stop the share for a minute. So most people, when they have a stroke, they go from the hospital very rapidly to inpatient rehab. They spend time in inpatient rehab, they're discharged to outpatient rehab, and with aphasia, you might have a few months of speech therapy. Insurance only covers about 3 to 6 months. Now here, I just told you, you have the rest of your life to improve. So 3 to 6 months of speech therapy, and then it's like, okay, go live your life with aphasia, which is much easier said than done. So that's where the Adler Aphasia Center comes in. We are, I think, 16 years old now, and we are a post-rehab social
air up here. It's like my head is burning.
A social and therapeutic setting for people living with aphasia. So what that means is, once the person finishes all their therapies, then they would come to an aphasia center like the Adler Aphasia Center. We have locations in Maywood, in West Orange, in Toms River, and we have about 11 locations throughout the state where before COVID, people could meet a couple times a month for a couple of hours to meet other people with aphasia, get some supports, etc. So the idea at these centers is to, yes, build the person's communication abilities, but like Cherie said, build the person's confidence, their self-esteem, and their quality of life. So since COVID hit, since the middle of March of last year, we have been doing all our programming virtually. And we have gotten new members, including Cherie, just over the internet. These people have never set foot in the center. But before I wrap up, I'm just going to show you this about 5-minute video about the center, and then I will welcome any questions.
We're going to interview people to see if they know what aphasia is. Do you know what aphasia is?
Okay, let me just get back to sharing my screen, and we'll be good to go.
We're going to interview people to see if they know what aphasia is. Do you know what aphasia is?
I have no idea. I've never heard of it.
Aphasia?
A what? Who?
Aphasia.
No, I have no idea.
I need for you to explain what aphasia is. Aphasia is a speech disorder. It comes as a result of a stroke or a brain injury, and gives you problem communicating. When I first had my stroke, I could not speak nothing, not yes, no.
Really?
Yeah, oh my God, yes, it's horrible.
That's incredible.
The Adler Aphasia Center is among the largest and one of the few freestanding long-term aphasia treatment centers in the world, dedicated to providing a therapeutic environment of innovative programming for people with aphasia and their caregivers.
It's unbelievable. Very homey. Free, fun, yes.
Since 2003, we have offered help and hope to stroke and brain injury survivors by teaching our members new communication skills while offering opportunities to engage with others. We strive to enrich the lives of people with aphasia, their families, and communities.
My son, Edward, had a stroke. Ed loves coming here. This is what makes his week, his month, his year. Every day that he comes here is another gift.
Aphasia is a communication disorder that affects 40% of all stroke and brain trauma survivors. There are an estimated 2.5 million people in the United States and over 70,000 people in New Jersey living with aphasia. We operate 2 full-service facilities with programming 4 days a week in Maywood and West Orange, New Jersey, and 11 communication groups considered among the gold standard of long-term aphasia treatment programs worldwide. The Adler Aphasia Center was one of the first pioneers in 2003 to use group treatment focusing on regaining conversational skills and re-engagement in life, called the Life Participation Approach to Aphasia.
Now I am happy. I like it very much.
Aphasia has a profound effect on a person's life, causing emotional distress, depression, and social isolation due to loss of language. Our life skills programs aim to improve our members' communication skills, provide peer support, and make new social connections and build their confidence while improving their quality of life.
Adler Center is, I guess, keeping me alive because I very much like it.
Our formal research program demonstrates the efficacy of our model to expand the understanding of aphasia rehabilitation. We conduct annual assessment testing and satisfaction surveys that confirm that after 1 year of participation, our members had statistically significant improvements in their communication skills and in perceived quality of life. These efforts include something special, our vocational artisan program, in which stroke survivors with aphasia design and handcraft jewelry and gifts. The successful Beating Buddy and Mobile Beating Buddy initiatives, which combine the best of our advocacy efforts and the work of something special, offer a unique platform for the center members to offer aphasia education to the community while providing meaningful volunteer hours to employees in the workplace. The power of connecting caregivers with other caregivers is profound. From day one, we understood the importance of supporting our caregivers and have made this as much an important priority as serving our members with aphasia.
The people here, they really do Very hard.
very nice people.
You can see the difference it makes in everybody's lives, not only the people with aphasia who come here, but I think everybody who works here and family members and friends.
Looking forward, we count on all of you as there is still so much to do in building new relationships and meaningful connections that will expand awareness about aphasia and help people with aphasia and their families build a better quality of life.
Letting people know what it is can open up their worlds, and also those who don't have aphasia, their worlds are open because they're missing out on a lot of really good people.
We need your help as advocates to spread the word about our centers. We aspire to reach everyone affected by aphasia and ask that you join us in pursuit of our goal.
Action now. What is aphasia?
Inability to speak, even though your brain is functioning at a high level.
We still got a long, long way to go, and we're not going to ever stop letting everybody know about aphasia. And the best thing of all about Adler Aphasia Center, it's a lifesaver. It saves people's lives.
Tell them, come on down here.
Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you.
Well, I was,
Okay, so before I open it up to questions, I just want to put out a brief commercial. This Wednesday night, June 9th, is our gala. It's going to be virtual this year. It is our largest fundraiser of the year. We are a nonprofit. You can join for free. Michelle has a flyer that she can share, or maybe has shared with everyone, so that you can register. And if you want to get a little more of a taste of the center, it's an hour long. It will include video clips of many of our members. And you can, as I said, get a better sense of what we're all about. So I thank you for your time and attention and welcome any questions.
Robin, this is Barbara Calderio Del Rosso speaking. And I have to say, I was honored by the director of the Fairlawn Senior Center, whose name is Karen Krenkel. She invited me, you had invited her to one of your musical productions, and she invited me. And I really, before I went, I wasn't familiar with aphasia at all. I was totally impressed with everything at your center in Maywood. It was just, the people were so happy. They were all dressed in costume and they put on their play. And it was just a delightful afternoon. And I tell you, when I became a deacon of our Second Reformed Church, one of the things we contributed money to was the Adler Aphasia Center, and I was just so thrilled and happy because I was very well aware of it. And you're doing a wonderful job. You really, really are. And you could tell by the happiness and all the in the videos of all the people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You have now given me goosebumps and almost moved me to tears, and made me miss the center so much, because it really is, as Pastor Jackson said also, it's an amazing, amazing place. My nephew is a neurointensivist, and I invited him to come to the center once, and he said, I never saw such happy stroke survivors as I saw at the Adler Aphasia.
It's true.
Thank you so much for your support.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure, because like I said, I was probably one of those people in your video, and they said, do you know what aphasia is? I had no idea. And I was educated, and I was just thrilled. And I'm so happy that you're right here in Maywood. I'm in Saddlebrook. We're neighbors.
We'll be back in Maywood, I hope. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes. My name is Phyllis Hall. And my question is this: are the therapies that are used for aphasia translatable to people with other problems, such as MS?
So with MS, it's more of a motoric problem, I would imagine. I am not a speech therapist, so I'm saying with some reservations. So I would say not really. Like sometimes we use what's called supported communication. And so we do a lot of writing. When I do groups, I have a clipboard and marker, and I'm always writing down keywords, writing down something I want to say, because visuals always help. So maybe if somebody has trouble getting the words out motorically, those type of strategies might work. You can use supported communication with a person early stages of dementia. That might work if they have a trach and can't speak. Even if they speak a different language, some of the skills that we use in supported communication might be appropriate. But at the center, it's really geared to people with aphasia. In fact, that's the common denominator that you have to get into the center, is you must have a diagnosis of aphasia.
You had a question.
So I'm curious. I noticed in the beginning you said that it affects the speech, the writing, the reading, and there was a fourth one.
Understanding, comprehension.
Understanding. And so does that mean that someone can have challenges speaking, but when they write it's fluid? Or is that, does it affect all?
Every single person is different, first of all, every single person. But you could have somebody who can't get any words out. I know a member who couldn't get any words out, but could fill this page with what she wanted to say in full sentences. What's very common for a lot of people with aphasia is if they can write, if they write down the first letter of the word they want to say, sometimes that allows the word to come out. Or even just writing the letter in air will allow it to come out. But everybody's different. Some people can type, some people can't spell, some people can write by hand. I knew a woman who had no spoken language, but if we played hangman and she had the alphabet in front of her, she'd be the first one to get the word, and she would spell it out by pointing to the letters.
Wow.
Wow.
It's really fascinating. That's why I like to tell that story about Jeannie, who had no intelligible language and then came out with that line from the play. It's really, the brain is still a mystery, but the discovery about 15 or 20 years ago that the brain is plastic, that it has plasticity and can make new pathways, that's what's really encouraged and helped people to get better, not only with aphasia, but in a lot of therapies. It used to be, okay, you've got 6 months to a year, and then don't expect any improvement after that. But now that they've discovered the plasticity of the brain and the ability to make new pathways, over time, abilities can improve. Long answer to a short question.
Robin, do your clients or members come 5 days a week, and how many hours do they spend there?
Okay, so now that we're in COVID, we've been doing about 15 groups a week, which members can sign on to. There's a Tuesday and Thursday morning group. Monday, there's 2 groups. Wednesday, there's 2 groups, etc. Before COVID, and God willing, after COVID, the members come twice a week in Maywood. Maywood is the largest of the 3 centers. They come Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. They were coming from 10 until 2:15 in the afternoon. So we'd have a morning drop-in, 2 one-hour classes in the morning, lunchtime, and an hour class in the afternoon. We also run a program for people who are not members, and we're doing that virtually now, where they can come, I think it's once or twice a month, and virtually meet other people with aphasia.
Oh, that's wonderful. I think meeting other people with the same ailment, if you will, is absolutely wonderful, because this way they can relate to each other. I think I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I do.
Absolutely. Most of our members also didn't know what aphasia was until they got it. And chances are good they didn't know another person with aphasia. So it's like you said, it's much nicer to have the peer support and be in an environment where everybody either has aphasia or understands aphasia. And, it feels much safer and much more comfortable. The idea is you get comfortable in the Adler Aphasia Center, And then that comfort and confidence spills out when you're out in the real world, quote unquote.
Absolutely.
Is the actual diagnosis of aphasia determined or distinguished maybe from other parts of the brain that may have been affected by an injury or a
So
stroke?
chances are a neurologist would refer someone to a speech therapist, and they would get a formal eval. There are specific, there's a battery of tests that can be given to determine if the person has aphasia and what type of aphasia that they have. And oftentimes, like if a person's in the hospital with a stroke, like what Cherie said, they won't even know that they have aphasia until they're working with the speech therapist. So when we do advocacy at the center and we work with medical and nursing students, we say, use the word aphasia with your patients so that they know that's what they're dealing with and they can find resources.
Wow.
Suppose I ask a question to someone with
Sure.
aphasia, and they're going to reply to me, about, I may ask them, how tall is that building or whatever, and they're trying to explain to me how tall is it, but they're speaking like jumbo.
Mm-hmm.
Do they hear that jumbo, or,
Excellent question, Annette. Excellent question. And again, that varies from person to person. Some people with aphasia, when they make a mistake, will realize that the word they said is wrong. And some people, depending what type of aphasia they have, they won't realize. Like the very first video clip I showed you of Steve, he was really talking a lot of nonsense words, but chances are very good that he thought he was explaining to you what he wanted to say and that you were understanding.
Mhm.
So what you can do is if you think you have an idea of what the person is saying, you can take a pad of paper and a pen and say, are you saying, do you think that building is more than 500 feet? And write down 500. Do you think that building is only 20 feet tall? Something like that. And chances are the person can maybe point to what it is that they want to say if they can't say it verbally.
Robin, one of the things that I learned when I visited your center was how to communicate effectively with someone who is diagnosed with aphasia. Can you share a little more about that? For example, one of the things I learned was like not to interrupt them or not to finish sentences for them. Can you go into that a little bit?
Sure. So let me pull up the rest of my PowerPoint because the second half deals with just that. So let me go here for a minute. Bear with me a moment. Let me go down to that. Okay. Slideshow. Zoom, where are you? Zoom, share screen. Okay. Okay, everybody can see that, right?
Right.
Okay. So you're talking to somebody who has aphasia and how you can help them understand what you're saying. So first of all, you want to try to have a one-to-one conversation. Now, I just want to say almost all of this goes out the window now that we've been on Zoom all this time. Okay, this is not the ideal scenario for talking to somebody with aphasia, but we make it work. So when you're in person, you want to talk one-to-one. You want to be looking at the person, maintaining eye contact with the person. You want to try to eliminate as much background noise as you can. So if you're in a room where there's a lot of other conversations going on, you might want to step into another room with the person. And think about like if you're at a family dinner and there's a person with aphasia at the table, think of all the different conversations that are going on at the same time and imagine how challenging it is for the person with aphasia to be able to pay attention to all these different conversations that are going on at one time. So ideally, you want to keep the background as quiet as possible. You want to slow down your rate of speech, not making it so unnatural that it seems awkward, but you want to slow down. You want to speak in simple and short sentences, which is not saying that you're going to talk down to the person or talk baby talk to the person, but you don't want to use a lot of words. You want to make the message as simple as possible. And you can reinforce that by writing down key words of what you're saying. Maybe you're having a conversation with someone you didn't meet before, so write down your name as you're saying it. Write down what town you live in as you're saying it. You can draw a picture. It doesn't matter how good an artist you are, but anything visual is going to help the conversation. The other piece of it is, how do you help somebody who has aphasia to get their message across to you? So you ask them a question or you say something, and then you want to wait and give the person time to respond. And you want to wait a little longer than feels natural or feels comfortable. Maybe the person is still processing what you said, or maybe the person is trying to pull out what they want to say. If they can't answer you verbally, then you can ask them if they can answer you another way. Can you write it down? Can you point? Can you gesture to explain what you want to say? We always say that yes, no questions are better than open-ended questions. So you want to ask a yes, no question, but commonly a person with aphasia will reverse their yeses and nos. They might say no and mean yes, or say yes and mean no. So you always want to verify when they answer you, oh, you said yes, you have grandchildren. Oh, no. I meant to say no, I don't have grandchildren. So use your thumb up or your thumb down, or write down the word grandchildren and then cross it out if they say no. They might not realize which answer they gave until they hear you give it back to them. And then finally, you want to verify. So go back and repeat what they said. You said this and this. Is that what you meant to say? And the person with aphasia can answer you that way. Cherie, do you have any tips or pointers that you want to add to that?
Really be patient with the questions. Really need to be patient. That's it. Be patient.
Right.
We will get it eventually.
Right. And if the person doesn't get it, don't just jump in and fill in a word for them, because the word you're thinking of might not be the word they're thinking of. So you can ask them, Cherie, would you like help? Can I help you? And then it's Cherie's choice if she wants you to try to fill in a word for her or not.
I say no all the time. I will get it.
It's very interesting, because the one thing I have noticed is it's okay for a person with aphasia to fill in for another person with aphasia, but it's not okay for a person without aphasia to fill in for the person.
Nope.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank Cherie because I really found her story so inspirational and just amazing, that her journey, and also that she's continuing with her education and activities. It's just phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you.
I agree. I was looking at the things that you've accomplished, and you've done things that I've not done. I've not gone boxing. I've not gone skiing, and don't plan to. And so I am just so inspired by your what you're looking to do, and going back to school for another degree. We'll be praying for you.
Amen. I really need that.
Dwayne, you're going to have to try bowling lefty.
Well, after you see me bowl righty, you may not want me to try it. Maybe I'll improve my game. Who knows?
So I want to say I met Cherie once on one of our virtual groups, and then I had an opportunity to speak for a group, and I called Cherie. I had only seen her once virtually, and I said, would you like to tell your story? And she came on that day and she had this whole PowerPoint prepared and she did an amazing, amazing job. She had only been at the center like a couple of weeks or something at that point.
I like it
Yeah.
because I had a chance to speak with people.
Mhm.
I need to talk to people all the time.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things I admit that I enjoyed on my visit there was the energy. There was a lot of supportive energy in the room. What we had the opportunity to do on our visit was we went from table to talk to groups of clients who were there and had an opportunity to hear their stories. And each one was at a different level of ability. And just watching how each one communicated. Like I believe one person had a book with pictures in it. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. Yeah, we have some of the members have life storybooks. So it's a format. Maybe Cherie, did you get to do one virtually or not? Not yet.
No.
So the members submit pictures, you know, it could be childhood pictures, pictures of family, jobs they had, vacations they took, whatever. And the speech therapist helped them make up a storybook about their life. And so when we have open conversation groups and you have some of the members who are lower verbal and can't really speak spontaneously, they can use these life storybooks to share their story with other members. Yeah, I mean, I think that the center attracts those people that really want to live life to the fullest and really want to get the most out of life. Which is not to say some of the people are depressed when they first come. Sometimes it's a family member that's pushing them to join and they're a little bit reluctant. But you really have people that really have a strong will to live and to get the most out of life. And I think, Reverend Jackson, that's what you felt when you came in. There's really a special atmosphere. And I think that's what we're all missing now and trying as best we can to capture virtually. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, I do have a follow-up question with regards to supporting the center. So we've supported the center financially and will probably continue to do so as time goes on. But are there volunteer opportunities that might be cultivated so that we can get folks from our church who would like to actually do some hands-on support? Is that a possibility? And if so, what type of work would it be?
So that's a loaded question at this point because of COVID. We are very dependent on volunteers. As I said, I started as a volunteer. Maywood had before COVID about 100 volunteers. Those are people you have to go through a training and then you can donate as little as 1 hour a week. Most of the volunteers worked on the computer with the members with one-on-one, working on different programs that are set up for people with aphasia. And you don't have to be a computer whiz. Some of the other groups have volunteers as well, our cooking class and some of the writing classes. However, when we go back in the fall, if we go back, we are not going to be having volunteers initially until things get straightened out a little bit more. So on our website, adleraphasiacenter.org, there is a link to click on for volunteering. There is a form to fill out, but I'm not sure in what capacity anyone will be able to come to the center for a while. In the meantime, we welcome aphasia ambassadors. So anybody who now understands about aphasia and wants to spread the word about aphasia and about our center is encouraged to do that.
Great, thank you. And yeah, I do understand we're in a similar situation where we're slowly reopening the church, and we're prayerful that by the fall we will be back to whatever our new normal will be. But in the meantime, we will continue to be in touch with you.
That's wonderful. We welcome that. Thank you. And just another plug for Wednesday night from 7 to 8. You know, sign up and you get a registration link, and it should be a pretty powerful program.
Okay.
So I thank you so much for the opportunity. I do just have one question, Jeff. are you Barbara's husband?
Yes, I am.
Hey, please tell her that Robin Straus sends her best regards.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Barbara knows everybody.
She sold us our first house in Teaneck. So.
Right, Robin,
Anyway,
okay.
no, but thank you, and thank you for your encouragement, Reverend. We really appreciate it. And Barbara, for your kind words and the attentive audience. And Cherie, you're great. You're hired again for another.
Thank you.
Yes, she loves it. She loves it.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the work that you do at the center. I mean, I've learned so much in such a short period of time, and I just find it absolutely amazing. Things that we never learned about or knew about or heard about. It's just opening our eyes to all of the things that goes on. And for me, it also reinforces how fragile the human body is. And all it takes is just one little thing to send us off kilt. And what do we do with that?
Exactly. You said it well. You know, you're on one side of the Adler Aphasia Center today, and tomorrow you could be
Yeah, there.
on the other side.
Yeah. And thank you. I've never heard of the word before. So I know what it means.
Excellent. I'm glad you joined us today then.
Thank you.
And
Well,
Michelle,
Michelle-
thank you for your support as well, for all your help and support.
Sure, yeah. Are there any other questions for Robin or Cherie? No? All right, in that case, we'd like to offer our very warm thanks to both Robin and Cherie for leading us in this talk. Thank you very much. And I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Thank you so much for coming to our Sunday seminar.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you, Michelle, for putting
Bye-bye.
this together.
Okay.
Bye-bye.